This question came in from Josh, and he's making a Metroidvania, but he says, but I'm doing all of the art, animation, and even build a lot of the basic systems programming it. So making a game of this scope has felt insanely stressful, and I'm just wondering, how in the heck do you do it? Am I in over my head? Now, I'm going to be chatting about this while I'm working on the Twilight Monk video game, so it seems appropriate, which is a small, we only have 5 people working on this game. It's a Metroidvania. We've been working on it for a couple of years now, and it's all consuming, really. But still, I gotta design, I gotta create characters, I gotta write the script, I gotta do all of the art. It's well, I gotta tell you, Josh, I drink a whole lot of Mountain Dew. No, I would say that it's certainly more work than most people realize, and it's a beautiful dream, it's a wonderful dream, and it's exciting. And if you're, young and you don't have a lot of obligations like family or bills or a lot of things like that, it's very reasonable for you to just commit all of your time and still generally have time for socializing and other healthy things. But this is not at all like what most people really think of game development. Like, you'll see these YouTubers that go, oh, well, I made GTA 6 over the weekend because Rockstar wouldn't. And then you watch the video and it was all clickbait because they're using store-bought assets and somebody else programmed 99% of what they made, and they slapped in some models into an engine. And, generally those are just clickbait videos, but it creates this illusion that games are made in like a month's time and like they were easy to do. And it's not. It's really not. In fact, I would venture to say that if you're not ready for making games to become all-consuming, at least for a few years, then don't do it. Yeah, that's why this video is not going to be as popular as one of those clickbaity videos, right? Because I'm telling you some truth here. It's not going to be what a lot of people want to hear. Anyway, I want to give you the truth, so let's dig into it. Let's talk about the ways that a small team can make a video game. Initially, you're going to want to just try to do some solo things yourself. Do small things, really small things on your own, and just get a couple of things out there so you can appreciate and understand what actually game development is. Then, as soon as humanly possible, start to group up with other people. Collaborate. Making games with other people is just a lot more fun. That's a big part of it. And the second part of that is that, it's not all on your shoulders. That's really important when you're just sitting there staring at the wall and going, is this any good? And then you just read feedback that says, no, it's not. But at least if you've got this other person you've been working with and they're going, no, I think there's something here, we just got to figure it out. Well, then that's, a conversation rather than it just being in your own head. And if you're not particularly self-driven or motivated internally, or you have a lot of negative dialogue that talks you out of things, you're going to really want to be with a team. You're going to want to be building things with other creatives. And 2, the other thing that I'm going to recommend to you is that you learn to focus on the things that you're the best at and try to find people that are better at things that you're not. So for example, if your strength is in animation, then maybe you should focus on animation. If your strength is in programming, then focus on the programming. If your strength is in the story writing, make it a very story-heavy story type of game. But do not try to do everything yourself. I mean, well, you can, but you're going to be really heartbroken. And when you are putting out things when you're just learning, they're not going to be good. Your first games are not going to be good. And you're going to get negative response. And, that could be really discouraging. It could end up talking yourself out of doing this anymore. This is the moment where a lot of people quit. So having other people that you're working with, co-conspirators, if you will, a crew, a team, a community, even if it's just a Discord community, even if it's just people that you're just sharing resources with, nobody's getting paid, but it's like, yeah, we made a little game and we put it out on itch.io, or we put it out on Steam as a free thing, or something. Or just put it out, anywhere as it's just a free download. A lot of people do mods this way, or they do ROM hacks, and these are not bad ideas. Actually, they're great ideas because it's really separating those who really enjoy the process of making games from those who just enjoy the idea of making games. And that's a big issue when you're looking for a partner or people that you want to work with. You're going to find there's going to be a lot of people who just love the idea of making games, and they all want to be the big shot creative director who just has big picture ideas but doesn't know how to do any of it. And you're going to find that you only want to work with people who have proven knowledge of or proven experience. You know, you're going to find, you see where this is coming from or where it's going. You're going to find that you want people who are competent and that have completed something, because they're going to be able to help you complete something as well. You'll be able to rely on them. You can count on them. And all this is about teaching yourself how to become somebody that's reliable so that others can count on you, so that you can become a better game developer, and so that you can ultimately make more challenging things working with other people. But you don't develop those skills, you don't get out on that journey until you actually take those first steps. And the way to take those first steps is to just get out there and start doing it, even if it's on your own, until you find more like-minded people, more collaborators. So yeah, are you going to be in over your head if you're one artist and you're doing an entire game? Yes, you will be, but that is a good thing. It will be a challenge and you will be able to overcome it, and then you'll build some confidence and you'll build some network, and other indie developers will respect you a lot more, because you're not just a daydream Johnny that talks about, you know, your big ideas for a game. You're actually making stuff, and other developers will recognize. It's sort of like the Highlander. It's like, you know, there's a knowing kind of a nod that you get from other developers when they see that you finished something, because they know how hard it is. And so, like, it's important to recognize that, yes, what you're doing is challenging, it is difficult, but you're on the right path. The one thing I would say, though, and this is super important, very important, I mentioned it briefly before, keep your project very, very small. Keep it small and finish it. You want to practice finishing. I want to really emphasize, it's really important to finish projects. Keep practicing finishing them. This is the same advice that I would give to somebody that's learning to draw comics, for example. Just make small little 8-page short stories. You develop your skills, you share that with other people, you've completed something. It was a start, middle, and finish of a story, and now you've got some feedback. So you can make your next little 8-page story a little bit better. And then you might find that other people go, oh man, I really want to collaborate with you on another project. Maybe we could do like a 15-page book. Okay, let's do a 15-page story together. And you maybe you find that you don't like working with certain personality types. You start to develop your own intuition about like what you can do, and what you know your tools a lot better. One, that's another thing. You start to expand your knowledge and experience, and you start to realize the value of knowledge and experience. And if you're trying to break into the game industry and you're so frustrated because everybody wants experience, well, if you're really listening to what I'm saying in this video, you begin to understand why you would want to work with people who are experienced too. If you had a lot of experience, you want to be able to rely on your team. You want to be able to rely on the people that you're working with. And some people don't really want to work with other people. They're truly like solo devs. And maybe you like all of that stuff. And maybe you're not, you don't have negative dialogue in your head that talks you out of things all the time. But if you're like most normal people, you're going to run into challenges. And when you run into those challenges, it's going to be good to have people to bounce ideas and solutions off of. Working with other people is also going to help you in terms of, new opportunities that come along. Maybe one of those people on your project gets an opportunity working with another indie dev on another bigger project. And that's another big win potentially for you, because maybe they go, oh, well, I know another guy that knows this thing. And then they're calling you, and then you get brought in to do art or design or animation on another bigger project, slightly bigger project. And this also emphasizes the importance of community as well. You can quickly begin to see how important it is to have a group of people who are also understanding the challenges that are ahead of you. These aren't the Daydream Johnnies. These aren't the YouTube clickbaiter guys, you're actually talking with developers who understand the challenge. We have a game development and indie development channel over on my Discord that also they talk about these specific things. What tools are you using? How did you shortcut this thing? Or have you guys tried this other tool? Getting involved in a community can really help you to, one, stay motivated, and two, find new tools that can make your job a little bit more manageable, so you're not so much in over your head. And ultimately, honestly, when you've got like 4 or 5 of these small little indie projects that are completed, you're going to be 10 times more knowledgeable and experienced than you were when you started out. And I guarantee you the opportunities will be a lot more than if you just never really finished anything and you've just been kind of chipping away at something that's way beyond the scope of what you're really capable of doing. This was a very hard thing for me to face when I was doing the Aikida game, because I wanted to make a full-on Metroidvania, but I had to learn how to program as well as do all the animation and the art and the game design and the marketing and all the stuff. Yeah, so imagine doing all that and trying to run a YouTube channel. But it's hard sometimes to like fit your scope within what you're actually capable of doing. But ultimately, the goal needs to be about enjoying the process of making the stuff, not about the reward that's supposed to come with it at the end. So other things that are going to help you if you're feeling like maybe you're in over your head is to try to ask yourself if there's a more optimal way that you can be doing what you're doing. So for example, if you have to animate a lot of characters, maybe consider using something more like a template. So for example, maybe have more humanoid characters, or maybe take some of your monsters and create variations that use the same animations, but they're a color shift on all the frames for the character, for example. That might be a good solution to saving yourself the workload. Also consider the complexity of art style. One thing you're seeing me do in this video is that I've had to simplify my art style a lot to create tons and tons of art assets. So really consider your art style. If you're trying to do something that's competing with, high level 3D, with physics-based textures and things like that, you could end up in a position where doing one monster takes you a month to do. Well, you're only going to be able to have like 2 monsters in your whole game if you're doing something that ambitious. So really try to simplify your art style and your process of what it is that you're making. Is a really hard compromise to make. I mean, I came from AAA games. You guys know the kind of artwork I do in my art books and stuff. It's hard for me to just dilute that down to something that's really simple, like what you're seeing me paint in these portrait videos, these NPC portrait videos. But at the same time, it's necessary because I literally have to do hundreds of them. And I'd rather have hundreds of NPCs that you can interact with than like 3 NPCs that you can interact with highly detailed paintings for their profiles or their portraits. Another thing you can consider to save a ton of time. Maybe you can buy some store-bought assets, the Unreal Marketplace or the Unity asset store have some things. You have to do your research to make sure that they're legit, but there may be ways that you can like buy animations or buy even some particle effects or things like that, that can really save you a lot of the workload, to at least finish some of your small little solo or small team assets. You may also want to look at the scope of your existing project that you're currently working on, and don't scrap it, don't throw it all out, but maybe ask yourself, could I just do a smaller thing with this? The original plan with Twilight Monk, when I didn't have a publisher, for example, I had very little resources, it was just me, and I had just enough money to kind of carry myself for a bit. And my plan was to just make very, very small little sections of a game and then kind of release them in chapters. And I don't think that would have been a bad business model. When we look at games like Momodora, that's exactly what they did. They made a game and it wasn't particularly great. They scoped it in a reasonable way for 2 people to do, 2 or 3 people. And they were able to put out their first game. It was not particularly good, but when they got around to making the second one, people were taking interest in the first one, and they were still getting a little bit of sales from the first one. That gave them a little bit of money so that they could develop the second one. They scoped it a little bit bigger, and then now they came at it with a lot more tools and knowledge and understanding of what works and what doesn't work and refining their formula. And then by the time they got to their 4th game, they were selling like really well. So I forget what it's called, but the Momodora that came out on PS4 was a big success for them. And they could not have gotten there had they not made the first 3. So keep that in mind when you're an indie game developer and you're trying to develop your skills and build your team and build your experience and your knowledge base and your capability. Keep in mind that it's okay to make something small and unimpressive for your first couple of efforts. You'll still find that it's fun to watch people play. I still enjoy watching people play Aikida. I still, every now and then somebody will actually buy the DLC, and it's fantastic for me. It's such a big, boost to my encouragement that, hey, I've come from some, really gritty roots, I guess you'd say. And you'll look back on those moments with pride, even though you're kind of, feeling like, oh, I could do a much better job with the game than what I did before, And so it's good. This is the same thing with art, by the way. And it's the same thing with everything that I talk about here on my YouTube channel. I'm kind of a self-taught artist. I've certainly done what I can to try to teach people what I know about game development. And certainly if you want to learn more from me about how I have created concept art for so many of the games that I've worked on, and a little bit more about, how you can shortcut your way to working faster, you could check out some of my Photoshop cheat box, for example, which will speed up your digital painting speed by literally double. I've got a lot of tutorials over there on my Gumroad channel, and I've got new videos here. I'm posting more than once a week lately, so please do stop by. Consider becoming a member if you want a little bit more of my personal videos, a little bit more the gritty Trent, unfiltered Trent, a little bit more of my opinions about Elden Ring. I learned my lesson about making that one public. Anyway, thank you guys so much for stopping by, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.